Now Kuz and Masha return to the student council, where Kanzaki accepts the fact that she bought that plushie, but doesn't agree to let it stay here. Then she thanks Kuz for helping her with the shopping, as she doesn't know what would have happened if she had left Masha alone with that. Taking advantage of the moment, she asks Kuz again if he wants to join the council, to which Kuz again responds no, but agrees to help them from time to time. He doesn't think he's suited for the council, as being there won't help him achieve any specific goal. But Kanzaki asks what's wrong with that, as he became president to win the heart of the girl he liked, a much worse reason than any he might have. This surprises Kuz, and on top of that, Kanzaki shows him a photo of how he used to look, with a less striking appearance than he has now. That's how he was 2 years ago. His grades were terrible, he was awful at sports, and he didn't really like school. But he had the misfortune of falling in love with one of the 2 great beauties of his year, who was out of his league, referring to his girlfriend, Chisaki Sarashina, the vice president. He tried his best to be a man worthy of being her boyfriend, and presiding over the student council was part of that. So the point is, you don't need a proper reason to join. Even Masha joined just because Chisaki asked her to. She confirms that's true, but says she was already interested before, thinking that it doesn't matter why you join, but what you do while you're there. And you can join for love or friendship as long as it helps make life easier for the students. That's how it should be. Otherwise, only saints could hold positions of power. Kuz admits that's a good point, and Kanzaki reminds him that, along with Yuki, he's improved things as the vice president of the council, so he can hold his head high since he has nothing to be ashamed of. Here, Kuz remembers a day when he was supporting his sister as the council president, where she inspired him to support her simply because she's his sister, and for that reason, he ends up telling Kanzaki that he'll think about it, which Kanzaki respects without pressuring him, showing that they'll support him when the time comes. Changing the subject, Kuz asks where Elisa is, to which Kanzaki responds that she's mediating a dispute between the baseball and soccer teams. The baseball team has inter-school matches coming up and needs the field to train, but the soccer team reached the regional preliminaries, so they asked for permission to use the field. So Elisa is going to mediate between them since neither team wants to give in, and professional scouts are coming to watch the baseball team. Usually Chisaki handles these disputes, but she's busy with important things in the kendo club, so she assigned it to Elisa to help her gain experience, but it seems she's struggling. After that, Kuz says goodbye and leaves the room, deciding to take a look just in case they're fighting. Here we see Elisa in the middle of the 2 groups, who start saying unfriendly things to each other. She asks them to calm down, as they're not going to solve anything by criticizing each other, suggesting they use the park near the river. This isn't enough to calm them down, as neither team wants to use the area by the river. At one point, Elisa feels very pressured, as no one is paying attention to her, believing she doesn't have what it takes to influence people. She also recalls her belief that if trusting people means ending up regretting it, she'd rather do things alone since no one can keep up with her. Saying that, she shut herself off and pushed people away and refused to talk, so now she's paying the price. Accepting that no one is going to listen to someone like her, who can only criticize and say what's right and wrong. Believing she's completely alone, and this reality makes her shed a few tears, being aware that she chose this for herself. But even so, she finds it hard to accept, even going so far as to ask for help, asking for someone to please help her, though she says these words in Russian. A few seconds later, the door opens, and Kuzi enters to greet her, saying he was sent by the council, introducing himself as Masachika Kuze from the council's general affairs. From here, we're shown what happened shortly before, as he could hear the heated argument from both teams as he approached the site. He quickly realizes that this won't end well for Elisa, as both sides are very agitated, so they should leave and discuss it another time. He feels sorry for her, but this is a good experience, opting to leave her in charge of this. Before doing so, he manages to hear Elisa's cries for help in Russian, complaining that that's why she's alone because she says these things in a language no one understands. Despite that, he accepts her plea for help, which is why he ended up entering the storage room to resolve this issue. The boys recognize him as the high school vice president, while Kuzi mentions that the president has already briefed him, where the issue is who gets the field and who goes to the river. Then he proposes that the baseball team train by the river because they have fewer members. In return, the soccer team will send people to help with the process. This causes both teams to continue disagreeing, but Kuz keeps his gaze fixed on the girls from the soccer team. After a few seconds, they propose helping the baseball team, which causes the baseball team to relax all at once, now accepting Kuzi's terms. In the end, the captains of both teams agree, thus resolving the dispute. Lastly, Kuz tells them that both teams need to come to the council tomorrow with the formal request, while Elisa looks at him quite amazed at how he handled this. When the two of them are walking alone, Kuz apologizes to her for getting involved and rushing things, as it exposed her. Elisa says it's not a problem, and asks him why he made that proposal, as it was obvious the baseball team wouldn't agree, and it was as if he knew the manager would offer to help. And she clearly noticed that, as he was watching her the whole time while the baseball team was complaining. Kuz explains that the manager is dating the baseball team's captain, and seeing Elisa's surprised reaction, he guesses she didn't know that. He then continues talking about the baseball team's star and that beautiful manager, saying that when it became known they were together, everyone was talking about them. The captain didn't say a word the whole time. This is because he wanted to help his girlfriend, but as a captain, he had his priorities, and it was odd for her because she knew the soccer team was asking for too much, so she knew that if she proposed that, she would agree. So the baseball team got help from some pretty girls, and the soccer team gets to use the school field, and those two can have practice dates in the meantime. So it's killing 3 birds with 1 stone, Elisa laughing a little after hearing that last part. Shortly after, they see the president waiting for them, wanting to know if they were able to solve the problem. Kuz responds that they did, while she clarifies that it was thanks to him. Kenzaki congratulates Kuz on a good job, while Kuz asks if he had it all planned, saying that he shouldn't play dumb as his reaction shows he knows what he's talking about. That makes Kenzaki admit that he's figured it out, and that he's right that he had it all calculated. He then asks if Kuz has made a decision, and Kuz responds that he has, accepting the honor of being part of the student council. Kenzaki is happy to hear that, asking him to go to the office immediately, though Elisa doesn't seem very enthusiastic. Later that night, Kuz and Elisa walk alone toward the exit, where he complains that he feels like he's fallen into Kenzaki's trap and doesn't like it, but thinks it's time to surrender to fate. What happened was that Kenzaki asked him to fill out the form and submit it tomorrow, as it was too late to do the procedure now. At that moment, Elisa asks if he's joining the council to run for elections with Yuki. Instead, Kuzi asks what she would do if that were the case, wanting to know if she would forget about becoming president. Elisa replies that she wouldn't, still determined to become the council president, and even if she has to face him, she won't give up. Kuz had figured that, as she's always been that determined. Out of nowhere, he tells her that he'll make sure she becomes the council president, and that if that's what she wants, he'll do what he can to make it happen. He won't leave her alone, and she can always count on him, so she just needs to shut up and take his hand. This declaration takes her quite by surprise, and after wiping away her tears, she avoids saying anything before taking his hand. Kuz then confirms that now the two of them are a team, while Elisa thanks him, then mentions something in Russian. Those words leave him perplexed, remembering one of those beautiful moments from his childhood with that girl he met, feeling happy that he can still feel so alive. Suddenly, he starts complaining about the pain, as Elisa is squeezing his hand too hard. She asks if he was thinking about another girl, as she noticed he was smiling quite a bit. Kuz asks how she knew, realizing just after that he's in trouble. This is because he thought about a girl from the past, which is the second worst thing a rom-com protagonist can do during a confession, while the number one is asking her to repeat what she said. Changing the subject, Elisa asks if he just told her she could count on him, and immediately after, he started thinking about Yuki. Kuzi clarifies that he wasn't thinking about her, but this causes Elisa to get angry again, telling him to shut up and take this if he wants to be forgiven, giving him a good slap. After calming down, she helps him up, and he is happy that they can finally go home. On the way, he confesses that it's the first time a girl has slapped him, and now he has more experience as a man, while she continues to tease him as usual. Shortly after, Elisa asks how his cheek is, and Kuz replies that it's fine, just itching a bit. After hearing that, she leans in to give him a kiss on the cheek, but seeing him in shock, she asks why he's acting like that, as it wasn't a big deal. Kuz, on the other hand, remains stunned, not knowing what that sensation he felt is. He asks if it shouldn't be cheek to cheek, to which she responds that that's true. As she says goodbye and leaves, he continues to wonder what that was, pleading with her to say what she did in Russian so he can understand. This is because it wasn't a friendly cheek-to-cheek kiss, and he doesn't know the customs she might know. Now we see Elisa blushing and embarrassed, recalling that what she said in Russian to Kuz when they were in the park was, "I like you." She continues to process this in her head, not accepting the fact that she likes him, trying to deny reality, and attempting to convince herself that she got carried away by the situation. Though she wonders if hypothetically she were in love with him, as even so, right now she has something more important, presiding over the student council, so she must focus on meeting her expectations. If she ignored that and asked him out, she thinks everything would go wrong, feeling very frustrated with her feelings now. Shortly after, Masha arrives, commenting that Kuz is very charming, now fully understanding why her sister likes him. Elisa denies feeling anything for him, but Masha finds it adorable that she's hiding her feelings. She also advises that she should hurry and tell him how she feels, or she won't be able to if someone else takes him. Elisa asks what she's talking about, but Masha just walks away without giving her an answer, leaving her confused. And that's it. If you liked it, please subscribe to support the channel. Comment the word president to show that you stayed until the end, as not many people usually do.